This week on the Valley.
That day you go, this is a joke.
I said, if you're going to attack Danny and Nia,
attack Danny and Nia, or
That's what I'm trying to say.
I said out loud that Danny did what he did. Yes, that he sexually assaulted Jasmine and Michelle. All
right,
Jasmine and...
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to be recapping the newest episode of the Valley, Season 2, Episode 13. And my, was this reality TV? Let's get right into this. We begin this episode with foreshadowing on what's going to happen later on this boat ride from not such a nice place, but I'm kind of here for what's about to happen. But let's begin. We start the episode right where we left off. Last week, Kristen and Luke are engaged. Their group was waiting for them. They greeted them with a nice surprise. They're all celebrating. It's great. I'm so happy for them. Zach, I said this last week. He did an outstanding job, preparing this entire thing. And if we all had a friend like Zach, we would all be so lucky because, he truly cares about his friends and making sure that they're happy and celebrated. But he tells them all to hurry up, get ready, and come down because they have a very nice dinner and little show down outside. So then they go on their way. Michelle is there saying that her boyfriend just woke up, so he's not there yet, but he's on his way. Everyone else is arriving. Zach then addresses the fact that some people are not here, Janet in particular. So he explains that Janet actually called him earlier today to say that she thought it was better for her to just sit this one out. And I've always known that Michelle is not the brightest person in the room, but she really manages to amaze me on how non-astute she is. Zach is saying what Janet said to him on the phone, and then she's like, I think it's rude that she's not invited. And then even Brittany's like, yeah, they spent this money and stuff to be here. And Zach's like, no, she was invited, but she didn't want to come. And I was like, what's not clicking, ladies? He just explained to you that she chose not to come. Anyway, then Jasmine, she's like, well, you know what, Zach, you weren't even invited to that baby moon thing for the Big Bear thing last year. Also, then someone asks, where is Danny and Nia? Jasmine is trying to be shady, and she's like, yeah, where are they? Taking a nap again? Sleeping? Her girlfriend Melissa says they might be showering. Jasmine's like, yeah, but how long does it take to shower? I'm here. We're all here. Brittany then says, yeah, and if people aren't going to be held accountable for being late, then I'm leaving. I'm getting out of here. And you see, I can't at this point. I'd be happy never having to see Jasmine and even Brittany ever again. Why do you guys keep targeting Danny and Nia, who, by the way, we gotta say this, were on the boat the entire day because they were part of the engagement. So it would make sense for them to take a little bit more time to get ready, shower, and probably rest a little bit, which I don't even think they did because they didn't really get there super late. They just weren't there right away. But again, it makes sense. So the hate is forced. It's really embarrassing. I'm glad Zach said to them, don't do this. Y'all are crazy. This is about Kristen. Let's have fun. Brittany keeps making this whole thing about herself, and she says how upset she is that she didn't know about the engagement until afterwards. I was like, oh, well, get over it. So Kristen and Luke come down, and eventually Danny and Nia do too. By the way, they weren't even that late, as I said. They got there before Michelle's boyfriend, Aaron. I don't see y'all talking about that, Jasmine and Brittany. Why y'all ain't talking about that? They're so pathetic. So everyone is there. They begin to eat, drink, hang out, whatever. Zach makes his way around Danny and Nia, and he says, listen, I have to be honest, I do think that some people here are holding a little resentment towards you guys, so I think y'all might want to address it at some point. And Nia's like, ugh, can you at least tell us who it is? And he says, yeah, Brittany and Jasmine. So Brittany, from over there, hears her name at the other table. She's like, I don't want people talking about me. I don't want drama. I was like, Brittany, shut up. You bring the drama onto your damn self. Brittany then says that she wants to do a toast, so she gathers everyone around, and Danny says, is that one of the ones that was talking bad about us? Then when everyone called it a night and they all left, Danny was like, let's be clear, it's not just Nia and I that are leaving, we're all leaving. But what frustrates me a little bit is Nia sometimes. It's like how quick she is to reprimand Danny. Like anytime he tries to stand up for himself or for them as a couple, she goes with her, Daniel, stop it. Let it go. And I get what she means. She did say to him, don't let them take away your happiness or your peace, which is true. But at some point, you do have to stand up for yourself. So when they go back, some of them go to Brittany's room, which is directly connected to Janet and Jason's room. So Janet and Jason, they can hear everything, and they have that door shut. But again, they hear everything. They do not want to come out. And, Janet and Jason, they feel uncomfortable and awkward, super awkward, because everyone's like literally outside their door having fun and talking. Do I feel bad for her? A little when I see scenes like this, of course. I'm like, oh, that's kind of sucks. But then I remember all the BS that she's done this season, that she's going to do in this episode, and I'm like, oh no, I don't feel bad. Alright, so it is then the next day. We see everybody waking up. The newly engaged couple wakes up super happy, but then Kristen gets a congrats text from Jax. Jax? How did he find out? And the thing is, remember, Kristen and Luke last night, they said to everyone, please don't say it to anybody because we want to keep this a total secret, because they wanted to tell their parents first and their loved ones before the news got out there. And now that Jax knows, yeah, not just all of America will know, the whole globe will know, Jupiter and Saturn will probably know too, because he's going to tell. That's who he is. And he did, because this disgusting voice chat that they have, well, Jax was saying it to everyone. So Kristen calls Brittany right away, and she's like, how did Jax find out? Brittany says, well, I told him, but I told him not to tell. Okay, you see, this is why I say to people, a lot of people are getting tricked by Brittany. Why are you even talking to Jax? And why would you tell him after, again, Kristen and Luke told y'all not to say anything? Brittany, you ain't that damn dumb to not think he would say it to everyone. You see, Brittany is a snake, people. She really is. Then we see Janet talk to her little husband of hers. And, as much as I dislike Janet, the one thing I respect just a little bit from her is that she had enough self-awareness to know that if she's not okay with Kristen, then she shouldn't have gone to the little engagement party yesterday, because she didn't want to make things awkward. I'm sure she didn't want to be uncomfortable herself, but the fact that she's saying she didn't want Kristen to be uncomfortable because it was her moment, I can appreciate her, being aware enough to be like, yeah, let's not go. So then Kristen and Brittany meet down. Brittany says, I'm sorry, I was on the phone with him because I was talking to him about something with Cruz and school. I didn't mean to tell him. I actually went off on him. I was like, Brittany, girl bad. And you know what? It wouldn't even surprise me if you did it intentionally because you were so upset that you weren't invited. But whatever, it's out there. It is what it is. But now, what Kristen wants to address with Brittany is this. When they were having their little girls' night a couple weeks ago, when they all went to that restaurant, remember Janet came in hot with the faces, with the expressions, and with all that screaming towards Kristen. Kristen hated what happened, and she says to Brittany, you didn't stand up for me. You just sat there and barely said anything. Brittany asks, so you want me to stick up for you more? Is that what you're saying? And Kristen says, yes, because you do with her. You defend her all the time. And are there no repercussions for Janet being a psycho and her being a miserable person? And Brittany's like, okay, I hear you. She is coming tonight. Will you be okay with that? And Kristen's like, yeah, I will be okay with that because I don't care about her. She's like a piece of cardboard to me. And I'm not asking you to fight her on my behalf. I'm just saying to defend me. Then Kristen gets a little activated, y'all. The guns are out. She says to Brittany, like, let's be honest. How did we even come to know Janet? Because of Sheena. Because Janet was a super fan who wanted to be in the group. Which we've definitely heard already, but, Kristen's putting it all on the table. Okay, so it's a bit later, and everyone begins to get ready for a cruise ship that they're all going on for the last night. They're going to be on the boat for 4 hours. So they get on this boat. I'm not sure what Luke was thinking when he wore some boat captain little costume thing. Very little, very short, showing a lot. I mean, he's got to have a lot of confidence to wear that Thankfully for some of them, the boat is pretty big, so they can keep some distance between each other. And I mean, listen, people, exes, people that hate each other, former friends, all stuck in a boat where they can't get out of. That's the best recipe for reality TV. It really is. It was interesting though. There was a point where Jesse was acting funny, trying to be funny, and Janet did turn to Michelle and asks, like, "What did you even see in him? What did you like about him at first?" And Michelle says that he didn't always used to be such a douche. He was actually pretty humble. Like, he didn't have money and things like that. But she says money changed him, and that's what made him a douche, according to her. So everyone, as the days continuing, they're eating and whatnot. Brittany tries to include Janet, but Janet is choosing to stay a little away with just being next to Jason. Then Luke and Kristen give a little speech. Zach then makes his way to Brittany to pretty much say, ma'am, why would you tell Jax Taylor about the engagement? And she's like, trust me, I know. And then Zach's like, listen, I get it. It's your trauma. That's why you want to talk to him. And like I said, though, you guys, I don't think Brittany is as innocent as she wants us to think that she is. She is very capable of understanding what to say and what not to say. Zach does tell her, though, that he fears that she might be backsliding a bit into him again. Speaking of which, we see Jax back in California with Tom, and he's like, guess what? Kristen's engaged. And then Tom's like, oh, let me congratulate her. He's like, no, you're not supposed to know. Jax also says that he wants to consider working things out with Brittany, maybe not going through with the divorce. He's like, why not try therapy? And Tom's like, no, that's not a good idea. Like, I think the best thing for y'all to do is date other people. The only working that you need to do is working on being good co-parents. That's it. All right, back to the boat. The boat was moving a lot, by the way. It was going up and down, up and down. Okay, now this is interesting. So Michelle makes her way around Janet. Y'all remember this Jenna girl who hooked up with Michelle's boyfriend Aaron? Well, Michelle doesn't like the fact that Jenna keeps coming around group events. She actually had a talk about this with Zach yesterday because Zach did bring her to one of the events. Well, when Michelle talked to Zach yesterday, Zach said, yes, Kristen and I have definitely talked about Jenna and whatnot, but you should consider that the ones who were really talking about it the most and thought about bringing her around were Janet and Sheena. So this is what Michelle is now saying to Janet. And of course, Janet's saying, I would never do that. You're my real friend. I would never hurt you. So then they call Zach down there. Zach sneaks back up, so he asks Kristen to go with him. So Janet says, I want to clear some things that Michelle said. And Zach's like, yeah, Michelle wanted to know, where did Jenna come from? I've known her, but really we all have known her because we met her through Sheena. And Kristen says, yeah, Sheena has literally in the past called Jenna her best friend. Then Michelle's like, yeah, Kristen, but when you first met Aaron, you made a comment about Jenna and that was uncomfortable for me. And then Kristen's like, yeah. And that's why when we were in El Coyote, I was trying to tell you, but Janet was over here screaming bloody murder and she wouldn't let me finish. So then Janet's like, well, that's not how I remember it. Michelle was not even dating Aaron in 2022, so what do I have to do with it? And then Kristen says, exactly. So why are you screaming about, take accountability when it's nothing to do with you? We started this summer with you saying you wanted to fix things with me, but then the way you screamed at me the other day, And then Janet's like, well, you know what, Kristen? I did want to repair things until you started spreading rumors about my husband. And then Kristen's like, we talked about this in person already. Well, at the shark party, I straight up told you what I was saying and why I was saying it. And we squashed it. You laughed about it that day. And then Janet's like, I know my husband. He's great. He's respectable. He's committed. He is loving. She's going off the list trying to convince us of this. She's like, he would never do what you were accusing him of. And then Kristen sort of just chuckles and says, I never accused him of anything. I repeated a rumor that's been out there. And then Janet's like, yeah, a rumor to ruin his reputation. And Kristen says, I said it. I repeated it because you attacked Danny and Nia. And by the way, I also told you this in person. I told you why I did it. So yeah, if you attacked them, I'm going to say something about you. Janet says, well, I didn't attack them. I simply said what Danny did. which was that he sexually assaulted Jasmine. Kristen gets the hell out of there. She walks out. She says, I am not doing this. I am not doing this. I will throw this woman off the effing boat, making accusations like that. I mean, the word sexual assault is pretty strong. Even Zach gets up and he's like, yeah, that's crazy. So Kristen goes up where everyone else is at, and she's like, I'm done. What she just said about Danny, absolutely not. And then Nia's like, are they still talking about Daniel? And Jason's sitting right there. He's like, what happened? And Kristen's like, I don't want to repeat it, but... And then she approaches him and she says, your wife just said that Danny sexually assaulted someone. That's what she just said. And, you know, Janet is, by the way, still down there with Michelle, doubling down. She's like, well, yeah, that's what he did. He sexually assaulted someone. Janet is despicable. But yeah, Kristen is saying to Jason, I was trying to explain to her that I repeated the rumor about you because y'all were coming for Danny. Don't go after my friends. It's as simple as that. Meanwhile, Zach and he's talking with Danny. And you know what? He says, ask Jason right now about the comments that have been said about you. Because get this, you guys. This thing didn't just stop with Janet talking about what Danny did to Melissa and Jasmine. Janet and her minions have also been going around relentlessly spreading many, many other rumors about Danny. They actually showed a little clip of one of them. It must have not been shown in the season prior to this, but it was her saying that there was a group of girls that were fans of the show. They wanted to take a picture with Danny. Danny was making them quote unquote uncomfortable, and he said to Jason, I like girls with little skirts, or something to that effect. So that's what Janet claimed Jason told her. That's why she's going around spreading it. So that's why Zach is saying to Danny, go ask Jason about it. So Danny, like, very nervously goes to Jason, and he says, by the way, at this point, Janet has made her way upstairs, and she's sitting next to her husband. So Danny says to Jason, so Janet is saying that you told her I made some fans uncomfortable because I said to you that I like their short skirts or something. And then Jason, y'all know what he said, you guys? I never said that. Oh my God. He says, I never even heard that comment. It was Jared and Brittany that said they heard that. And then Janet is trying to act like a dumb person. She says to Nia, I'm sorry that I had to use that word, you guys, but it was Kristen who brought y'all up. So, you know, she came for my husband and said that she came for him on y'all's behalf. So I just had to say that word. So Nia's like, you had to or you chose to? Jason says, Danny, sorry, it's hard to talk about, but these are things you did. They're things you did. And then at this point, you know, it's just too much chaos. Janet and Jason are yelling like idiots, trying to explain their side. Danny and Nia decide to walk away. Janet says, I didn't bring them up. Kristen brought them up. At this point, though, Luke has had it. So he goes off on Janet and Jason. He's like, y'all talk about everyone. This is the issue. And, you know, Janet and Jason, they keep trying to pretend like they care so much about Melissa and Jasmine, so that's why they keep attacking Danny. So it got to a point where Melissa finally finds her voice and says, can everyone please stop talking about us? Stop using us in your arguments. Kristen is going off, though. She drags Janet for filth. She goes off. She says, shut the F up. I'll throw you off this boat. Everyone's screaming when they got off the boat. She's like, you're an effing fan, bitch. It was too much, you guys. Too much. And that was the end of the episode. Wow, you guys, this was crazy. Janet is just, she will throw anyone under the bus. She really will. And, you know, I think Nia, when it comes to Nia, I want her to go a little crazy for her man. I said this last week. I want her to go Lisa Rinna style on her man. I want her to go Kelly Dodd on her man. You know, I want her to go crazy. But she doesn't. And I get it, because that's not her personality. And also, I think she's being genuine. Like, I think genuinely she is like that. Like, that's genuinely her personality. So that's why she's really taken aback by Janet and doing all of this. But yeah, Janet, I can't believe I felt bad for a second that she was being isolated. But then towards the end of this, I'm like, oh, hell no, you should be isolated. It is so refreshing watching, you know, her be uncomfortable in the group, because that's what she gets. And I find it very interesting that FUC few days ago. It came out that she evacuated or she fled the country because of all the hate she was getting. Now, don't get me wrong. No one deserves any hate. I've always said this. No reality TV star, no matter how problematic they are, no one actually deserves hate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I sit here, I do my recaps, I talk about how annoying she is. Y'all write it in the comments. Does that mean we're going out here and, like, threatening her life? No. And that's wrong. But I do think it's a little interesting that this news that she fled the country, quote unquote, came out a few days before this episode aired. Put two and two together. Jason, dude, I don't know what law firm you practice at. Clownery and Buffoonery LLC? I don't know. Your wife is going to be your downfall, buddy. Get ready. But anyway, you guys, let me know your thoughts. Kristen, Doute, MVP of this episode. Defend your friends. Period. Let me know what your thoughts were. Brittany is annoying me so much. If her and Jax left the show, I'd be fine with that. But you guys, let me know what your thoughts were. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time. Y'all have a great one. Bye.